Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Zach Erickson from Nintendo Dads, and E3 is coming up, right? Next week. It's a thing. People are excited, and pardon me, I'm getting over a cold. So E3 is around the corner, and we just had the Nintendo Direct, and so here's the deal. I've already seen people, or the Pokemon Direct. I've already seen people since the Pokemon Direct who are starting to get upset and angry, and Nintendo, what are you doing? You know, what are you doing with this Splatoon voice chat? What are you doing with this and that? Lots of people who are upset at Nintendo already, and E3 hasn't even begun. And what I thought I would do as a sort of... I wanted to give you your pre-E3 therapy. For those of you who don't know, I just graduated. My graduation was yesterday. Counseling psychology. So, here are 8 tips for you, directly to you. They're all going to be about enjoying E3 and for us to not get carried away in our own feelings as Nintendo approaches. So, tip number 1 is simply a motto, and I sent this out on Twitter the other day. High hopes, low expectations. Okay? I want everybody to repeat with me. High hopes, low expectations. I think that's really important for everybody. This is just a good life philosophy in general. High hopes meaning, yeah, man, wouldn't it be great if, holding out that maybe that's gonna, my favorite game is gonna be announced. Metroid Prime 4 is gonna be announced, something like that. But being realistic about it, low expectations. You're not getting so attached to that hope of, man, I really hope that this game is announced, and ultimately letting yourself down or setting yourself up for disappointment. So, high hopes, low expectations. That's number 1. Number 2, check yourself before you wreck yourself. And all I mean with this is just, I know that it's really easy, and I see this all the time, and I'm sure everybody sees it, is that instant desire to tweet out or to whatever, and just to immediately rail against some sort of a decision, right? And ultimately, if something isn't for you, that's fine. But gauge within yourself, and I think, again, good life practice. Maybe this is an ongoing thing where we kind of see what is using our experience with Nintendo as maybe that's also how we're experiencing the world around us with maybe other people and our loved ones and whatever. Anyway, but check in with yourself and be like, why am I upset about this? Is it worth going on a rant? Is it really worth getting upset about? That's number 2. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Number 3, don't expect too many surprises. This kind of goes along with that high expectations thing earlier, but I honestly think that given, and I think honestly there's a lot of evidence right now that just says they're not going to surprise us that much. They've specifically said it's going to be 2017 games at the E3 event, the digital event, for the Switch. So that's what they're going to show us. 2017 games. They might show us 1 or 2 surprises, but don't get too excited, guys. Don't be too crazy. Nintendo is not like Sony. So don't expect too many surprises. I'm actually going to jump to one that I have later on, but I'm going to just say it now. Just number 4. I'm going to move this in my thing because otherwise I'm going to screw myself up. Number 4. Oh, and I deleted it instead. That's okay. Number 4. Just because you've already heard of something doesn't mean it's not good. Right? Just because you have not heard of something already doesn't mean it's not good. In other words, appreciate the news that we've already heard. We've got Splatoon coming. We've got Fire Emblem Warriors. We've got Super Mario Odyssey. These are games that are going to be spotlighted at E3. Appreciate it. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. So don't be so tied up with the games that you want to see or that you hope are announced that you forget to be excited for the games that have already been announced, that we already know of, that we're going to be learning new things about. Because that's important. And this lineup, I think that a lot of people have been worried about the lineup so far, and the Switch lineup has been great. They're spacing things out. And so if we see a handful of games coming from Nintendo, a handful of big budget games, that's those are all games that I at least am excited about. Maybe you're not, and that's fine. But just look back on those games and maybe give them a second look if you haven't really yet. So that's number 4. Just because you haven't heard of something doesn't mean it's not good. Number 5, withhold judgment until we get more details. This is really important too, right? Really important. Because if you look at some games and think, oh, that game looks like garbage, and maybe it does, but maybe it's not garbage. And so I think that this is maybe a weird one to say, but there have been games in the past that have been mediocre, granted, but have gotten railed so hard against that that nobody enjoyed them. And you may have even enjoyed a game, but maybe details need to come out. For example, one game that I was like, that game does not look like it's for me. And the closer it gets, the more I'm like, ooh, maybe it is for me, is Ever Oasis on the 3DS, right? And I think that's really important to keep in mind. Withhold judgment. It's okay. You don't have to if it's vague, if whatever, just be comfortable with ambiguity and not knowing if this game is going to be good, and just be okay with that. So that's number 5. Number 6. This one's really, really important. This is probably one of the most important. I want you to accept the real Nintendo as they really are for who they are, and not hold this aspirational version of Nintendo, this perfect, ideal version, this Nintendo that we all want Nintendo to be. I want you to put that and appreciate it, that ideal version. I want you to set it aside. And I want you to say, you know what? I'm going to accept the real Nintendo, the quirky, weird Nintendo, for who they really are. Because your life's going to be better. Because you're not going to be so worked up when they don't release Pokemon Stars on the Switch in the first year of the Switch. Right? Let's think back to the 3DS. When was Pokemon X and Y released? That was like a good 2 or 3 years into the 3DS's life of the system, right? They released Black and White 2 a year into the 3DS's lifespan on the previous console, on the DS. So accept them as they really are, right? It's like being in a relationship. And if you constantly are saying, oh man, I love my girlfriend, or I love my boyfriend, or my wife, or my husband, or whatever, but man, I wish that they would just take the garbage out without having to be asked. And you're right, it would be wonderful. It would be the best. But guess what? No matter how many times that's such an aspiration, the possibility is always there that they will not take the garbage out without being asked, ever. And can you love that person anyways? Accept the real Nintendo. The weird, quirky Nintendo that makes decisions that we don't necessarily agree with, and maybe even give them the benefit of the doubt. That's number 6. Number 7. Remember, you are not Nintendo's only customer base. You are not... The 3DS right now is not for you. Potentially. Maybe it is. Maybe they're releasing stuff for you. But more likely is the fact that, you know what? Maybe Nintendo is not marketing Pokemon Ultra Sun and Pokemon Ultra Moon to people who own the Switch. Maybe that is not the primary market for Pokemon fans. Maybe the Venn diagram of Pokemon fans and Switch owners, the overlap there is probably not as much as you might think. And so, and they actually have a much greater ability to get profit if they have the plan that they've done, right? And so remember that you are not the only person who Nintendo is marketing to, creating games for, and maybe this is for somebody else. Maybe they're making decisions based on other customers, and you're getting left out, maybe. But anyway, the final one, number 8. 8. Don't forget to celebrate. Find a game that is announced or is covered that you're really excited about. And this goes back to number 4 about not, those games that you've already heard of that might be good. don't forget to celebrate. Don't forget that this E3 time is a wonderful time for us to be fans of Nintendo, of being gamers. This is the best. This is Christmas for gamers. And so don't forget about that. And hopefully, if you take these all, I'm going to read through them one more time, just rapid fire. But hopefully these are all going to help you in your pursuit of happiness and enjoyment of E3. And not just for Nintendo, for everybody. But so number 1, high hopes, low expectations. Number 2, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Number 3, don't expect too many surprises. Number 4, just because you've already heard of something doesn't mean it's not good. Number 5, withhold judgment until we get more details. Number 6, accept the real Nintendo, not the Nintendo you want them to be. Number 7, remember that you aren't Nintendo's only customer base. And number 8, don't forget to celebrate. Enjoy this time. You guys, I'm so excited for E3. Let me know down in the comments below. Are you excited for E3? What are you excited for? I really hope that you guys are going to be able to enjoy it with us. We're going to be doing some coverage here on the Nintendo Dads channel, on the podcast. So stay here. It's going to be a good time. I'm really excited. Like, comment, subscribe, and of course, check us out on iTunes too. And you can listen to the show. I'm actually going to go right now. They're probably waiting for me to record. So thank you everybody for listening, for watching, yada yada, etc. And we will see you next time.